She was part of an Indian Book of World Records art initiative where 160 artists collaboratively created artworks representing 160 tourist destinations, showcasing the power of collective artistic expression. In 2023, she founded her art enterprise, It's Artistic, with the mission of conveying that art is not merely visual but vital. She has also gained valuable international exposure through a semester-long exchange program at International Christian University in Tokyo, which further enriched her cultural and academic perspective. We are delighted to have her guiding today's discussion with Dr. Selvabaskar. Without further ado, we welcome both to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone, and good evening, sir. Thank you so much for making your presence here today. And we need further introduction for sir, because when I was asking around about sir, I really have to say that his reputation precedes him. So I'm really delighted to have you here with me on this interview, sir. So which brings us to our first question. This is the first time this platform is interviewing someone outside of the engineering domain and from social science. From your vantage point, why do you think this gap exists, sir?
Thank you very much, first of all, for this opportunity. In fact, the research community at SASTRA has become more vibrant and organizing several new initiatives, thanks to Dean Research and Associate Dean Research for inviting me to this particular session on SciXchange. Yes, the question is really a very good question. In fact, when most of the researchers, when I interact with, they mostly say that which domain they belong to, rather than which problem they are solving through their research. So the very mindset that I am a scholar of this particular school, or I am doing my research in this particular domain, I think that focus has actually resulted in a gap where, in today's context, interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research lead the way. And a lot of new innovations get transferred into benefit outside the laboratory, not inside the laboratory. So I think this is one mindset which probably people think that this is something which is for my domain. Actually speaking, it is not so. Research is much larger. You have to look at it with much larger perspective. That is my view on that.
Thank you for insisting that research is all about breaking the barriers, sir.
Exactly.
So now I would like to ask that you have such an interesting background. You started with engineering and then you moved into management. Looking back, what do you think is one thing that you have learned from engineering that is lacking in management, or vice versa?
So that's very difficult to say. You know, only both eyes, when they are together, we can see very good view, right? I would say that engineering and management, since I have the background of both, I am in a position to look at things in a very better way and in a very beneficial way, I would say. And I never say that I exit engineering, rather I expand engineering when I get into management. And you cannot separate these two. These are inseparable, engineering and management, or rather technology and management. Today, if you look at it, any technology, if it has to be taken out as a product or service, definitely it has so many managerial perspectives to be satisfied. So in that sense, I would say that this particular combination of engineering and technology is definitely an advantage, I think, that I carry, with which I am able to expand the research and take it closer to the society.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would also like to brush upon the same concept. In engineering, failure is most often very visible. You know, when a design does not succeed, it's called a failure. But in social sciences, it is much subtle. So, how do you think that we can deal with both?
See, basically, engineering, you have certain outcomes. If it is this way, it is correct or not. So, engineering will have a lot of iteration, and social science research will have a lot of filtration. That is the difference, I would say. Because the social science research will focus more on getting it more refined and more refined as we proceed in the research. But engineering will look at perfect results. Can I make it more perfect? Can I make it 80%? Can I make it 90%? With 90%, we will not get satisfied. Can I make it 100%? So you always strive hard to achieve that perfect outcome in engineering. Whereas social science, it leaves a larger gap. If you look at it, every research, even if it is 20, 30 years old, still has got a lot of relevance and still has got a lot of gaps to be filled. So it is more related to psychology, more related to the changing scenario where that particular research is applied, and that is the reason why social science researchers will never get satisfied. Okay, this is the maximum probably I can do. They always think that yes, still there is some scope for improvement and things like that. Engineers will work more on methodologies, process iteration. Thereby, they try to bring in better results every time they get into it, and that is how it actually happens.
Yeah, thank you for telling us the differentiation, sir. I have looked into your resume, and we know many of your projects. It's as an intersection of technology, rural development, and management in practice, not just in theory. So, what makes interdisciplinary researchers succeed, or what could be the downfalls?
See, basically, it's all about building that scenario for the research. It requires a lot of observation. You have to keep your eyes and ears wide open. The very first research that I was undertaking at SASTRA was funded by Tata Trust. The scale of funding was 2.86 crores, where our Vice Chancellor is the principal investigator. And I had a very great time working with him. At that time, he was Dean Planning and Development of SASTRA, where that particular project proposal underwent changes and it was submitted for the sixth time when it got accepted. And every time, it was a learning for me. Doing that particular project was a great thing. In fact, that was more on skill building. That particular process was totally on building a lot of skills, especially for the unemployed rural youth. So it had a lot of social, it served a lot of the social cause, I would say. So end of that particular research, it delivered a great satisfaction because we can see it really touched the lives of a lot of women. It touched the life of a lot of unemployed school dropouts. So end of the day, the beneficiaries, they stand as a proof of what a particular project or a small research can actually touch the lives of people. Later, the next project was, that was just, it was a spark that I got, that how the digital ecosystem is existing in higher education institutions. In fact, that was exactly in the year 2018, 1 year before the pandemic broke out. Nobody had ever had any clue of how the digital ecosystem is existing in higher education institutions. So the research was funded by not any agencies, it was funded by another deemed university coming under the Ministry of HRD. It was National Institute for Educational Planning and Policy Making. So they came up with this particular research. They funded this particular research. It was just a survey-based research. And when we found that particular results, we found that there is a huge gap. The digital ecosystem provided in higher education institution requires a lot of attention. And that was the time, the entire learning shifted to online. So whether in case the research could have been completed and the results were presented 2 years before, probably the higher educational institutions would have had better preparation to face COVID. So the time at which this particular research was taken was relevant, but unfortunately due to COVID, we were not able to submit these results in such a way that they prepare to face COVID in a better way, especially institutions in suburban and rural areas. institutions like SASTRA, we were well prepared in advance, but that was not the case with most of the other higher education institutions. So again, that was a research which has totally changed my mindset. Okay, so that means that not only these educational institutions and students in rural areas, there are a lot of different stakeholders who are not enjoying the technology to their advantage. So the very next thing was the Spark project, where that particular focus was on digital adoption by unorganized retailers. So that was started in 2019, just before COVID, and thankfully we were able to present the results after the COVID, where there was lot of necessity for the unorganized retailers to adopt digital payments and other digital systems. So then again we were overwhelmed by the results of these two projects. And the next one was about how we can probably adopt digital technology, especially to bridge the digital divide between urban and rural areas. So this time it was more focused on the rural people, how they adopt and how they get the government schemes and its benefits through various digital platforms. So one after the other, it was the inspiration or rather motivation we derive from one research that gets into the other, and that's how it gets better and better and better.
So you have rightly phrased that inspiration comes from unexpected places,
Yes.
and thank you for your contribution, sir. So you have guided and observed a lot of scholars.
Okay.
So if I have to ask, what is one thing or a few ethical practices that shows that someone is a serious researcher or not? I might be self-sabotaging myself with this one, but I'd love to hear your take on it, sir.
See, it's not just about ethics. When I started my research, I thought research is all about intelligence. Then later I realized it is not just about intelligence, it is about how you learn to become patient, how you are able to take your setbacks, the resilience, and most importantly, silence. So, how as a researcher you can learn all these things and slowly, become better and better. Actually, I would say that if you are not confused, at least 30% of your time, you are not doing real research. And the curiosity with which you take the research to the next level, because every Monday, I'm sure the scholars will accept, every Monday you be a optimist that I'm going to do something great this week. And maybe on a Saturday evening, like today, you will see nothing is moving forward, right? Another research scholar in my own team doing better. Okay, don't ever compare yourself with the other scholars in your team. Each one is working on a different problem, and each one is having different problem, right? So let us not compare. Comparison is something which will kill your enthusiasm. You compare with your own past. How, as a researcher, you did last month or last week, and how I have learned. Okay, failures are not to be considered as failures. So my scholars, as such, if I look at it, not only when I say my scholars, as the ADR research of the School of Management, all 25 scholars are my scholars. That is how I look at it. And I don't give any privilege for my own scholars. In fact, the first entry will be for the scholars doing research under my peers' supervision. Then only I give permission for my scholars. So what I see in today's, the mindset of today's scholar is they want things to happen immediately. I register, then I should identify the problem in the next 1 month. I should complete my coursework in next 1 year. Good, you can have such time frames, nothing wrong in that. But research is something which requires a lot of things. You may think that if I review 100 or 200 literature, my work is done. Actually, literature review is not about learning. It is about learning what to ignore. Only when you learn what to ignore, then you are having the right literature on hand. It is not about, adding more and more papers into it. And another thing is they get dejected quite fast. If I have to take experience from my research journey, when I first approached a professor to guide me for my research, the professor said, sorry, normally people used to have a waiting period of 1.5 years to 2 years. If you are ready to wait for such a long time, maybe I consider you as my scholar after 2 years. But 2 years is pretty long time. Then somehow I found another professor and I registered under him. And unfortunately, after 6 months, his guideship itself got cancelled. Then I was in a fix. So for a moment, I lost interest in PhD. Then I decided, okay, maybe our time is not all that great. Then I was just waiting for the right moment. Then the guy whose guideship got cancelled, he felt guilty about the entire thing. So he himself took a lot of efforts in identifying another guy. So he referred me to him, and when I approached him, he said, I won't take you directly for PhD. Because that time we had MPhil, right? First you do your MPhil. Let me see whether you have the appetite for research. Then, based on your MPhil work, I will consider you for PhD. Then, I have to register for MPhil, complete MPhil, convince him. Then, I have to register for PhD under his guidance, and then I somehow completed it on time and got my degree. So, that's why I said research requires a lot of patience, but that is something which I see is little lacking in our people here. So what you need to do is just keep doing your work, have your timelines, nothing wrong, but you should not expect results immediately. When I started publishing also, I had a lot of hiccups. Normally, there is a villain in every publication. In my case, it is reviewer 2. Reviewer 1 always gives motivating comments. I don't know how it happens. And reviewer 2 comes with all negative critics. This concept is not good, this variable is not a good one, your sample size is not adequate, this tool is not apt, all that. So, always, even if I get any reviews, first I will read reviewer 2's comment. Then I will know, okay, it's as usual, right? I'm sure everybody will have a reviewer 2 in your life, right? And reviewer 2 is the same person across all disciplines. So, you need to again work continuously. If your first paper is rejected, then only you are a good researcher. Then only you will learn where you can improve. Sometimes, the paper will go for desk rejection directly. We regret to inform you that this paper is not suitable for the journal's scope. However, we thank you for your interest. Immediately it will come. Again, you will have your own. So, don't get dejected. Keep trying and try to get things. Once if you are happy with the results, that time you have to give a pat. You have to motivate yourself and then move forward. That is how it should be.
Thank you, sir. Speaking along the same lines, as someone who is also in the blooming stage of my research, and I'm sure a lot of people would have this question, how to manage our time as a researcher between deep thinking, publishing, while also handling the peer pressure, sir.
Exactly. See, time management is something, very important. So I will give some tips. Probably I used to practice it. You can also try this. You need to have a sacred time slot every day. I would suggest 90 minutes a day with no disturbance. Complete, absolute focus. You find a place which you think is good for that. Could be the library, or could be your cabin, or even it could be your supervisor's office. Sit there 90 minutes every day. Complete focus. I tell you, 2.5 years, as our dean research professor used to always say, even 2.5 years, you can complete your research and submit. You will complete. Maybe on engineering side, due to some delay in the experiment results, it may get, it may differ. But for management and social science, I would say that 90 minutes of focus every day, it will give you excellent results. If you do that, it's fine. Actually speaking, we don't waste time. We leak time unnecessarily. We leak time. If you plan a day, 90 minutes, I think you can definitely spare. Not very difficult. This is my humble opinion.
I'm sure that a lot of us will follow it, like the 5-second rule or the 5-minute rule, sir. Thank you for the valuable advice. You also spoke about dejection as a scholar. Now I can see that, I know that a lot of researchers at some point, quote unquote, feel they are not cut out for research. So how do you say that you can motivate them from your own experience, or what point do you say that someone can become a true researcher, sir?
See, many times, you cannot expect your supervisor to be a Google map always. You say, sir, I want to complete research. After 3 years, I want to become a faculty, or I want to have my own startup, whatever it is. So that is my destination. Please take me towards that. And as Google Map, when you are on a wrong path, it won't scold you, or it won't tell you are wrong. It will say, okay, you are in the wrong place. Now let us plan. From here, how you can reach your destination. That is how it is. But you cannot expect your research supervisor to be a Google Map, because supervisors have also learned research in a way where probably they would have even undergone hardships than what you are actually undergoing. And they are also, working on several projects, several experiments. They have their own labs to manage, and they have their own academic responsibilities on that. So as a researcher, first have the clarity in what you want to do. It need not be too big. Even it may be a small one which you are working. It may be a small problem that you want to focus on. Still, nothing is wrong. Just take it and work on it. Move forward. And I would say that you need to have some support ecosystem. You can have your own small research group, which can probably help you. When I was doing my research, I was the faculty. So I used to have a small research group where I have my students who are enthusiastic about research. I had my own alumni who are working in the industry. Few people were there. My peers, professors from the same area of interest, and also some industry connect. So whenever I need some help, not that every time I go and stand in front of my supervisor, rather I would try to explore what I can get from these people as a supportive input. With that, I go to the supervisor so that things will get better. Not that without any preparation, I never ever go and stand in front of my supervisor. I need to go with preparation. Without preparation, I will never go and stand in front of. No casual talk or no this thing. It is about business, that is research, because supervisor time is also precious. Your time is also precious. So that's the way you have to go about it. So don't get dejected. Don't think that it is the end. PhD is not your life. Probably it is your identity, maybe. Not your entire life. Don't give it such a huge, this thing for that. That is one piece of advice probably I would give to all the scholars.
Thank you, sir. For one final question, is there a point in your research life you had to do the ethical thing or the right thing that cost you your profession?
I won't say it cost my profession, but again, I tend to be as ethical as possible. I quote one incident. See, when I was going for data collection, my questionnaire was in bilingual questionnaire I carried. One was in English, the other one was in Tamil. But I was approaching a respondent who is having rich experience, but unfortunately, he is not a literate. So I need to interact with him, and then I have to get that particular thing. So my data collection was spread across 4 areas. That is Chennai, Hyderabad, Kochi, and Bangalore. Okay, and I am not that much familiar with the local language. Probably I can understand a little bit of Malayalam, but not Kannada, Telugu, right? But this person was so conversant in Telugu, and nothing he was able to understand, nothing I could understand. So when I go to the next person, he is also of that kind. But these are all people with rich experience. I somehow want their response. I consider it as the most significant part of my data collection. So what to do? Then I was calling one of my students who was working in a bank, and he said, I asked him, how good you are Telugu? He said, if somebody speaks Telugu, I can say it is Telugu. That is my level of understanding for Telugu, sir. Then I said, I need someone, a translator or someone. Then he said, I have a security. Okay. After banking hours are over, I will take him and I will meet you. Then he came, I sat with him, he explained what is the crux of that particular research all about in his own language. Of course, he was a person who was earlier in Chennai, so he could understand Tamil, thankfully. So I spent almost 2 to 3 days in making him understand, so that if I were him and then ask these questions to them, to that extent I prepared him, and he will only available after 6 o'clock. So I need to go with him, spend time till 10 o'clock till the stores are closed, and that is how I collected data. So it is effort which may be required at times to stay ethical. Even I would have done, I would have given the same thing to him, you please go and, but still I want to witness whether this has been executed in the way I wanted it. Only then the data is reliable, only then I can go and confidently say, yes, my data and the results are dependable. You can very much bet on it. With the same confidence, you can face the examiners in the Viva or anywhere later, even if you are talking about it, you will be in a position to say. So, lot of efforts required, and the efforts also cost lot of time, other resources, but still all that is for staying ethical in your research. You should not fudge data, or you should not depend on someone, you should not under prepare someone and substitute him for you in collecting data. That is how we need to do it, because now today I can say proudly that yes, I have conducted the research the way it should be. I was ethical, my research was socially relevant, and at the same time I am happy about this thing, because carrying the PhD as a suffix or DR as a prefix should ultimately give me some satisfaction. I should not have any feel of guilt about it. That is the reason why I say being ethical is the most important thing in your research. It may result in delays, but still, that is one thing which you have to follow.
That was truly inspiring, sir. You gave us an example of going beyond miles for our research. Now, thank you so much for all of these answers, sir. I would also like to give the platform for the audience. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask, sir.
Sure.
You can also ask any questions about time management or anything that has to do with your research life as well.
So maybe I tell you about this work-life balance, because I see some of the scholars, they have families, they have young children, or aged parents to take care. See, we actually take the wrong meaning from the very word of work-life balance. It doesn't mean that 50% work and 50% professional life. If you take it that way, you are wrong. That is where you go wrong most of the time. It is about prioritizing things. At times, you may have to give 60% to work and 40% to life. At times, maybe 20% to work and 80% to life. See, even if you want to take rest without guilt. If you take rest with guilt, it is equivalent to rest in peace. So it is better that you try to prioritize. Where should I prioritize work? Where should I prioritize life? Work life can never be in a balance of 50-50 each all times. If you take it that way, you are wrong. So try to balance. Of course, at times you give priority for work, at times you give priority for life. The percentage varies, the priority varies, the frequency varies, and that is how life goes. So it may be 12 CL per day per year, or 10 days of vacation per year, but still those 10 days of vacation, let it be vacation, not just an occasion. Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
Since from my post-graduate PG, I have seen you own the stage. Can you just tell me how effortlessly to speak and how you own the class? So how to make students to be felt in love with the subjects? Because as I am a budding professor, I can able to know how to make my students to feel love in the subject.
See, today's students, they require lot of justification. So every time when I go to a class, the very first class, I tell them why this subject for the students and why I am the faculty for this subject or this course. Because they need, and wherever possible, I used to come with the disclaimer. And another important thing is like I studied in the Tamil medium, and we studied English as a language, sorry, as a subject, not as a language. And even we were not being taught the right pronunciation. Leopard, we used to pronounce it as leopard, not leopard. Right? RIOT, we used to pronounce, we were taught to pronounce as riots, not riots. So that is how we learned English. So till 12th standard, it was completely Tamil medium. And when I go to the college, it was English medium. The first class was chemistry. So the professor asked, who are all from Tamil medium? There were a lot of people. First thing he asked, spell the word chemistry. Even when you have to write chemistry in English, chemistry becomes mystery, right? Very difficult. You know the right spelling, but at that time it won't come. Then the language class, English, the ball was dash, within bracket catch, fill it with the right tense. You are already tensed. So the whole class was silent, as if you know everything. When you shout, the ball was catched, then the whole class will laugh at you. Then I realized the importance of, language. Then slowly, even when I completed my engineering, of course, scoring in engineering, of course, there are a lot of equations and numbers and other things, mechanical engineering. So we have labs every semesters. So we were able to score marks and get through. All that was fine. But when I came to MBA, then it was a testing time for me. Even some of my classmates, they are foreigners. You cannot interact with them in Tamil or English or whatever it is. You have to speak, you have to use the right accent. So everything comes by practice, and once if you practice and gain that confidence, then there is no looking back. Communication is definitely a powerful tool for anyone to interact, to exchange ideas. So you need to practice. That's why whenever the scholars get an opportunity to handle some classes, please do explore. Please do go, because today you may be a scholar. It's not very far. Anytime you may become an academician, and you are in the making. So definitely you have to practice. And written skills are also equally important. So you need to practice that also. So both written and spoken part is very, very important. Please do practice. Even when you read something, just take a piece of paper and try to write the abstract. It may be right or wrong. Still, keep practicing. That is more important. Have the habit of writing using pen and paper. I would insist. That will definitely result in a big transformation. Yeah. Yes.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
May I know how to handle your pressures, sir? I know you are a Dean School of Management and DLR and supervisor of many scholars. So the pressure is from various sides. So how to handle the pressure?
We should consider it as pressure. Consider it as pleasure. See, it's all in the mindset, right? And have your own priorities. Every day morning, I used to tell my scholars, please come and meet me. Just update on what's your plan. Then I will make some changes in that. And evening, you please come and meet me and update me on whether the plan worked or not. That's all. And in between, I never disturb them. Rather, they don't disturb me. And I do have the academic load and other administrative responsibilities. Maybe sometimes when you are during office hours, thankfully we are not loaded with any important work. Otherwise, unless needed, our management or our vice chancellor, they don't disturb us on holidays. One thing that I have observed, the great thing about this management is no WhatsApp messages on holidays or Sundays. They leave us free. So spend your time with your family. Probably that is the message which they give. Of course, when there is a need, yes, we should also understand and work accordingly. So it is about mindset, whether it is pressure or pleasure.
Sir, I always see you very calm and composed. So, are you following even now that 90 minutes rule?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Maybe I split it into 30, 30, 30. 3:30s. 30 minutes, I will think about any new projects or any new project ideas or any new publication titles, areas, that thing. And sometimes, I have a bad habit. Once it happened to me, I just started reading one IIM professor's article. Somehow I completely immersed in that. I never knew what has happened around. I don't know what was there in the paper or not that. Morning 10 o'clock I started reading. I was reading, like exploring the tool, having some references from the web, trying to work on that model, use some dummy data and getting the results, comparing. I was so fascinated. When I look at the time, it was 2 o'clock. This can also happen at times. So I won't claim myself as a great person as far as time management is concerned. Sometimes, out of interest, I also got immersed. Otherwise, I used to have 30 minutes focused time for research publication, 30 minutes exclusively for academics, especially for learning new things or planning some new cases for the students. And another 30 minutes for administration. That time, it is fully my time and I will completely focus. Beyond that, anything that comes that is based on the urgency, I used to spend time at work. Otherwise, most of the time, if there is something difficult that comes, first thing I do is I will have a cup of water, walk around, go for a small walk around the building, come and sit, then start working on it. I don't know what is there in that thing, but somehow it works, and that is how I do it.
When you are being very happy, it's such a teacher.
Pardon?
When you are being very happy, it's such a teacher.
It's such nature you are asking.
I am asking, when you be very happy, when you are teaching or research?
Always when I am teaching. When I go to the class, when I get connected with the students, I feel younger and younger day by day. Right? So, if there is a class, I would love to go to class. And everything comes next.
So before we wind up the session, I would like to do something like a rapid fire. So I would start a sentence and I want you to complete it within a word or a sentence instinctively, quickly. Most young researchers waste time worrying about.
Results.
Okay. A PhD does not prepare you for.
Successful in life.
Okay. The hardest part of research is not methodology but.
Ideology.
Thank you. If you could change one thing about how research is evaluated today, what would it be?
I want to change the evaluation itself. Because the researcher is spending a lot of time, years together, in building a castle, right? And if someone comes and says, this is not good, that is not good, maybe as a critic we are ready to accept it. But still I wonder, is that time enough for someone to say, this is extraordinary work, or this is very mediocre work, or this is a useless work, is still something which I can't understand. That is why when any thesis comes to me, they give me 45 days time to evaluate. Right from day one, I start looking at certain things, make some observations, and I utilize the entire 45 days before I send my comments. No hurry or no working on the last few days. Because it is someone's work. Before I say it is good or bad, I should justify my efforts in evaluating it. Sorry, I have.
It's all right, sir. It was really a good answer that patience is also for faculty as well. Now, many scholars confuse productivity with.
Possibility. Because they think that if you are so productive, you can say that the outcome is possible. Actually, it is not so. Hard work will never yield results. It's always smart work. Smart work is when to work hard and when not to work hard. That is smart work. Don't think that hard work is useless. But what happens in the name of hard work? Sometimes we hardly work.
Disclaimer to scholars here. What is the most damaging sentence a supervisor can say to a scholar?
I am not going to approve your paper, or I am not going to accept your submission. Because at times even I used to say so. But the thing is like, very next moment I will say, anyway, okay, please keep it. Let me have a look at it.
One final question. If you could leave young researchers with one uncomfortable truth about academic research, something they won't hear in usual orientation programs, what would it be, sir?
I would say that, without technology, your research becomes not relevant, or your research becomes irrelevant. So I would tell 80% of your reading or observation should be relating to your own area of research. 20% it should be outside your domain always. So suppose if you are doing a stem cell research, nothing wrong if you read about management. If you are doing a research in law or legal studies, nothing wrong in learning about AI or something like that. So this is a fact. If you don't accept or adapt technology, especially I am telling this for social science researchers, then your research becomes irrelevant. It's a hard fact.
Thank you so much for all your valuable insights, a few laughters, and experience from your own life as an inspiration to us, sir. We would also like to present a little memento on part of research community from SASTRA, sir.
Thank you very much for such a wonderful moderator for this session, because she has kindled the interest for me to answer and give something. Hope I lived up to your expectations. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for reminding us that research is not just about seeking answers, but also about asking the right questions, sir. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, sir.
Thank you.